Hey guys, it's Kamil. Welcome to my second episode of The World Today. Today we're gonna talk about something kind of funny, but on the other hand serious as well, and something from which we can learn a lot about life, you know. And even especially if you're a young person, you can really learn a lot about life from political debates. It might be boring at times, but believe me, what you can learn from it, it will be invaluable for you as a lesson in dealing with life. So what are we talking about here?
I've heard of a number of cases where people have been excluded for incitement and for hatred. I've never heard of one for stupidity. And I'm not sure that we should be starting now.
The person you're dealing with, maybe a successful businessman, is also a buffoon and has the dangerous capability of saying the most obscene or insensitive things to attract attention.
Donald Trump. We're talking about the debate that just happened a few days ago in the British Parliament about banning Donald Trump from entering the UK.
His words are poisonous. They risk inflaming tension between vulnerable communities.
Now, why this is funny or even ridiculous? Well, as someone said, it is ridiculous because someone, namely Donald Trump, said something in the US about the US borders during the US election campaigns, and here in the UK we are having a debate in the Parliament. So this is crazy, you know.
I don't know if I'm sure the honourable gentleman would agree that this motion is actually embarrassing to the UK and makes us look intolerant and totalitarian. And I feel we should almost apologise to the people of the United States. It's for them to decide on Mr. Trump's views, not us.
Now, obviously, some people have been offended by what he said, and he said some pretty hateful things about, you know, Muslims, Mexicans, about women, Chinese and many other people.
Hate crime is being inflamed and stroked by the words that Donald Trump is using.
And obviously I do not approve of that. I think that's absolutely unacceptable for a serious, for any person actually to say things like this, especially somebody who is planning to be a candidate for, you could say, the most important job in the world, the President of the United States. So it doesn't really become. Nevertheless, you know what? We need to look at this from a different perspective. And I want to show you also some views of the members of British Parliament who expressed it really well. So I'm not going to dwell upon it a lot. I'm gonna play you a few moments from the debate. Really interesting things. Why should we ban Donald Trump? Some people say, well, because his speech is hateful and we do not approve of that, you know.
Donald Trump is no more than a demagogue.
I don't think Donald Trump should be allowed within 1,000 miles of our shore.
Well, I'm not sure that he's going to be terribly worried about this debate.
And a few other arguments like this. But then I want to ask questions, you know. Is this really going to help? And if yes, who? Who is that going to help?
And what would it achieve, banning him? We live in a global village now. We're not going to stop his views reaching our shores purely because we ban him. In fact, I would argue the opposite. Actually, the promotion a ban would bring would mean that his words and his views are heard louder and stronger than they currently are. Banning him would only play into his hands. Banning someone like Donald Trump would risk making him a martyr. I believe we would only fuel his course even further, and in his own mind he would see himself as a martyr, and I believe many of his supporters would feel the same.
Two, what he did, what he said, is it really proportionate to what we want to achieve? Or to what others are doing and what we are doing in response to that? Is it proportionate, you know?
If we did, as a country, start to ban people because they said things we didn't like, I wonder how long the list would be. As ignorant, as unpleasant as Donald Trump's comments are, he is not alone. For starters, we'd have to ban the current Prime Minister of Hungary, because he has said, I believe, things equally offensive about Muslims.
Like it or not, he is also quite a contender to be the head of state of what is arguably the most powerful country in the planet, a country which is a vital ally of us. Now, we've welcomed to this country Saudi and Chinese leaders, not to mention Mr. Ceausescu, whose crimes are far, far worse than anything Mr. Trump can dream up. These are people who actually don't just talk about violence, they practice violence on an extreme scale. And we have welcomed them to our country.
On that very point about banning heads of state, it's widely known that Mecca has been banned for Christians for hundreds of years, yet we entertain and have entertained the King of Saudi Arabia. Indeed, Mecca and Medina are banned, prescribed for Christians.
Also, there is this problem that he has invested serious money in the UK, and he's actually planning to invest even more, up to $1 billion, even over $1 billion, namely in Scotland, which is part of the UK. And that's a very important part of that debate as well.
The organisation is investing £200 million in the resort, and to date the materials for the development have been sourced locally. They use local produce in the restaurants and employing some 200 local people, a figure set to rise when the hotel reopens this summer. I spent time at Turnberry last week and I spoke to staff, contractors and members, and there is no ambiguity about their feelings in this issue. They don't talk about Trump the politician, they don't talk about Trump the showman. They talk about a man with a passion for golf, with a commitment and a clear vision for the future for this resort.
Well, I think we should welcome him with love. You know, meeting hate with hate doesn't really work. You know, if someone is attacking you violently and in that moment you need to defend yourself, obviously you need to defend yourself and do whatever you can to save your life. Whereas if it's just someone saying things and it's not directly threatening your life, you know, we shouldn't respond with hate. We should invite him, welcome him and show him, you know, maybe this is not the way he thinks the world is. Maybe he would like to reconsider and see our way of living.
I would urge the alternative of inviting him here, and I'd be delighted if he could show us where the so-called no-go areas for police are in this country. I've never been able to find one. It'd be a pleasure to take him down to Brixton and show him the rich mixture of races and creeds that are living happily together there. And perhaps it'd be interesting to have a chat about why in America there are more people killed by shotguns every day than are killed every year in this country.
And remember, he's probably not a stupid guy, although his behaviour may be suggesting that he is.
And you didn't need a crystal ball. You just needed to know who you were working with. 25 years ago, Sir Roger, when his wife divorced him, she took the opportunity to say her much-loved former husband used to lie in bed at night and read the works of Adolf Hitler.
The things he says, they suggest that he might be an idiot, but probably he's not very stupid because, you know, he's pretty successful in business and also in show business as well, you know, that means something, you know. So he must have some agenda, right? Maybe he just wants to, maybe it's a clever way for him to win the elections in the US, to become a president, because, you know, no publicity is bad publicity. So
we are fueling this man's publicity machine by having this debate at all today.
Order.
Anyone talking about him just helps him with the election, with popularity, you know. And there will be some people who will support him simply because they will admire his new way of thinking, or actually his guts, so that he's not afraid of saying things that he thinks or saying things that are controversial.
People are fed up of being told what they can and can't think, what they can and can't say, and they find it refreshing, even whether they agree with him or disagree with him. They find it refreshing to find a politician who has the guts to stand up and says what he thinks, even if it's controversial and even when it's unpopular.
And many people are fed up with all those political correctness. So that's another thing. What else?
His entire style of politics is to stoke controversy and say outrageous things, lavishing with attention, even if our intent is to condemn or deride, is only falling into the trap he has set for us. His continuing popularity amongst voters is evidence of this.
So he's simply campaigning, right? He wants to win the elections, and well, if you do not approve of him, you know, instead of being opposed to him, support one of his rivals. Simple as that, you know. Attacking Donald Trump is not going to help your cause, because
he's not a serious threat of harm to our society in any way. The uproar is largely because he's rich, white and politically incorrect, and that to me is really the crux of the issue.
What you need to do, you need to choose one of his rivals and support him, make sure that he wins, rather than, you know, doing the same tactics. So you are opposed to hating, but you do exactly the same. You hate him, you know.
But it's amazing that the people who always preach about tolerance, and we shouldn't have any intolerance, are always the very same people who are so intolerant of anybody who happens to have a different opinion to them. I'll give way to the honourable gentleman.
So he's intolerant, and you're intolerant if you cannot tolerate him, you know. So what are you? You are exactly the same as he is, right?
If we only allow free speech for those we already agree with, is that free speech at all? Most of us in this room oppose him for demonising his opponents. If we ban him from the country, are we not in danger of doing the same?
Absolutely. So that's why I believe we should welcome him with love rather than ban him.
As a party and as an individual, I could not support the exclusion of Donald Trump from this country. Bring him here. Let us have the opportunity to challenge him and let him go home with his tail between his legs, and recognise that the principles he espoused no longer reflect this country, the United States of America, or the aspirations that we should all seek to promote internationally.
And also think about that. What if he's elected the president, actually, of the United States? You know, the British and the Americans, they've been allies, very close allies for many years, you know. What will they do now, you know? Will they lift the ban or what? What's going to happen? You know, that would put United Kingdom in a very difficult position, very difficult place.
I think none of us are quite as surprised about that as I am, but I am even more surprised to hear the honourable member quoting warmly the words of President Bush. Admittedly.
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the debate, and please watch it. It's really good. You can easily find it in Google if you look for it. Also, there is a link underneath the video to the full transcript of the debate. If you don't want to watch it, you can read it. Thank you for watching, guys. That was really great. See you in the next episode next week, Thursday in the evening. All right? Take care. Bye. This didn't go the way I wanted. I wanted to say many more things, and I wanted to make this video in a very different way, but now I have changed my mind. So it's gonna be a bit different than what I planned. But I think that's okay. You're gonna like it anyway, right? I mean, you have liked it. Or you will like it. I don't know where I'm gonna put it in the video, actually, before the debate or after or in the middle. Anyway, it's all good, right?
Is also a buffoon and has the dangerous capability of saying the most obscene or insensitive things to attract attention.
It's perfectly right that the Home Secretary bans extremist preachers when they tell their followers to commit acts of terrorism, to cause harm, hate, to cause pain, and ultimately kill other individuals or community. That's absolutely right that the Home Secretary does that. But I don't believe Mr. Trump has done that.
But we certainly should not go around banning everyone from the country simply for voicing an opinion that the honourable gentleman happens to disagree with.
Is he comfortable that somebody like Donald Trump will automatically be allowed to come into this country when I know several people who cannot get their wives or their husbands into the country even for a visit?
The great danger by attacking this one man is that we can fix on him a halo of victimhood. We give him the role of martyrdom.
The question is that this House has considered e-petitions 114003 and 114907 relating to the exclusion of Donald Trump from the UK. As many as are of that opinion say aye. To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it. Order, order.